What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Nerdwide podcast. It has been a hot minute, but in
hmm
case you've forgotten, I am your host, Tyler Haynes, with my good friend and co host, Mr. Chris Rivers.
Now, who could forget you, Tyler?
You know,
I
I wonder that myself. Because, listen, it's been a couple of weeks. We've recorded our Halloween horror picks, but it's my
Mhm.
favorite time of the year just because I am introduced to so many good movies. And start off with a banger this week. I'm just going to say it. This week is a great week. Granted, both are movies that I picked. So
well, yeah, we both picked one of them.
that's true. That's a valid point. And I'm glad we did because the movie's really good. And
Yeah.
I can't wait to review it and talk about it. Of course, we're going to go full on spoilers for all of our movies we're going to talk about today. A little bit of an abbreviated episode, dealing with some medical issues. Nothing crazy. Just want to get our thoughts put in before things happen. So we are going to do that. But welcome back, everyone. This is the Nerdwide Podcast, episode 157. The title is X and the Blackening Reviews. I'm your host again, like I said, Tyler Haynes, with Chris Rivers. Housekeeping, don't forget to subscribe to either our YouTube or whatever podcasting service you do use. If you enjoy a show, make sure you give us a thumbs up on YouTube or give us a good rating for whatever podcasting app you use. If you don't enjoy what you see or hear, let us know down in the comments below what's wrong, if there's audio issues, things like that. That's the best way we can get feedback in. If you want to do more, you can always go to patreon.com/nerdwide. 3 different tiers or 3 different monthly annual subscriptions. Get the episodes early.
What?
Let us review things, all that good stuff. That's the
I
way to do
know. I know you said annual subscriptions,
it. You know.
but it didn't. Didn't come.
Didn't capture it the best, huh?
No, not at all.
Chris, how you been?
Uh, I had surgery.
How'd that go?
I'm still here.
See?
Yeah.
That's listen, I've got
I
surgery in 2 weeks. 3 weeks.
really.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
So
I had a cyst cut out of my neck, so um,
how's it feel?
yeah. It's. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm waiting on the stitches to dissolve.
Oh,
So.
that's always a weird feeling too, by the way.
Yeah, a little bit. No, they wheeled me into the OR, and they're like, "All right, we're trying to." They had to make sure they had a good drip,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the last thing that I really remember is them talking about that. And then I woke up in recovery.
So good drip then.
Yeah.
Good job, guys. Y'all did it. Listen, you got to make sure those propofol drips are great because
Yeah.
it could go bad, and you don't want that. Nobody wants to be
No.
awake during something like that.
No, I'd actually heard a story about a guy that was,
Oh, see?
and
Mm-mm.
and then they gave him something that made him forget
Yeah.
the prior few minutes, but his subconscious remembered it, so he ended up, unaliving himself.
Oh,
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that.
yeah. No, that's not fun. So,
No.
Chris, you been watching any movies, anything crazy? We're just going to do just our 2 movie reviews today. We are going to have like a future episode where we finally review the season 4 of The Boys and catch up on a lot of our new stuff. But anything crazy you've seen recently? Done anything fun?
No. Kind of boring over here. It's between work and surgery and all that. It's just been
It's a little excitement in its own rights, though.
yeah, a lot of sleeping
Yeah.
in the past few days.
I love to sleep, and I have not been
Yeah.
doing a whole lot of it recently. But
What about you, Tyler?
this weekend, Friday night, went and saw Green Day in concert.
Uh-huh. How was that?
It was excellent, like a great show. Smashing
Yeah.
Pumpkins and Linda Linda's, Smashing Pumpkins, good band. Weren't the best live. Jamie really enjoyed them, but I'm like, I didn't really enjoy Smashing Pumpkins, which is weird.
Is it
I do like that.
is it still the original
Yeah.
band
Oh
touring?
yeah. Yep. And they look every bit of it. So unfortunately,
Well, I know Green Day does a great show, so
this is my second time seeing. They were my first concert back in 2007, I think, when they came for the 21st Century Tour.
yeah.
And this was just as good, if not better. So
See, I'm one of those people that would have been perfectly happy if it had just been Green Day.
yes, I would have been as
And
well. They were the headliners, but they had three different bands before them. And
Yeah.
like they didn't get started till 8, and we got there at 5:30 and listened to some mediocrity. I mean, but
How do you really feel,
I
Tyler?
know. Then Saturday golfed all day, watched our movies that night, and then Sunday night went and watched Across the Spider Verse and live concert with the symphony,
Yeah.
which was awesome. I recommend it to anybody that they come to their city for. I was expecting a lot more orchestra members. I think there was like 10 total, which was kind of weird. I don't know why I was expecting a lot more, but it was wonderful. Like they had lights going and things like that with the movie. It was very cool.
Still the same disappointing ending though.
Yes, that's the only problem I've got with that movie. We left and I was like, yeah, I still love the movie. The ending was just not that great. So,
All right.
but enough about that nonsense. We got two movies we're going to talk about. And this week, as you saw on our horror Halloween pick, we've got The Blackening and X. Full on spoilers for both of these movies. I actually want to pull up the cast for X while we jump into that one.
You want to go to X first?
Let's do The Blackening first.
Blackening first?
Yeah, to Blackening first. And I am ready whenever you are.
Okay.
X cast movie. What a weird.
I'm gonna take a nap first.
God, what a movie.
First off, The Blackening. So it's directed by Tim Story. He did one of the Fantastic Four movies.
Yeah.
He also did, I think, Barbershop.
Yeah, Barbershop. He did Tom and Jerry. The
Oh, well,
animated
there you
movie in
go.
2021.
There you go.
Oh, he's done a lot of like comedic movies. A lot of stuff with Kevin Hart.
So
Small
it
World.
had a budget of $5 million. It made $18.6 million at the box office.
I'm surprised we don't already have a sequel in the works, honestly.
This they left it open
Yeah.
for a sequel. It came out in 2022. I'm gonna say this up front before we get into the plot, because it does come up for me, and I know it's a horror comedy, and this was his first horror film.
Oh.
From what I saw, there was a quote I saw of his that stated that he had always respected the genre and the directors in it and everything, but he had greater respect now that he had actually directed a horror movie. But I think I feel like it really showed that this was a first time director in the genre.
Oh.
And there's a couple of points I'll bring up along the way. So let's jump in. Morgan and Sean arrive to a cabin in the woods where they plan on celebrating Juneteenth with their group of friends. In the game room, the couple discovers a board game called The Blackening, which features a racist Little Black Sambo caricature. Suddenly, the lights go out and a mysterious voice demands the couple play. Sean answers a question incorrectly and is promptly killed with an arrow to the neck. Morgan attempts to escape, but is captured. The next day, Lisa, Allison, and Dwayne make their way to the cabin and discuss King bringing Lisa's unfaithful ex-boyfriend Namdi for the weekend's festivities. On her way,
I was laughing.
on her way to the cabin, Shanika runs into a former schoolmate named Clifton at the gas station who reveals he's also joining the group. All right, so the run-in here at the store, at the gas station, you have the tall clerk with one eye, who they make no secret he's going to be involved in this somehow.
Yeah.
Because he just walks to the end of an aisle and stands there staring at Shanika and Clifton. They also don't make a secret, if you've watched enough horror movies, that Clifton's going to be involved in this somehow.
Yeah.
Because Shanika's the first one that she seems to recognize him by look, but she has no idea what his name is. and some of them later on don't even remember him at all.
I know.
And he's like, I got an Evite.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so the guy that is not remembered by anybody obviously is going to be involved in this
Mm-hmm.
somehow. Um, Before leaving, Shanika's unnerved by the facially disfigured clerk who stands by her menacingly. Once the group's all together, they find Ranger White not allowing them entry. It's funny because this is Diedrich Bader playing
So
Ranger
good.
White. And his badge, his last name is White, but it just has his first initial, which is B.
Yeah.
So it's B White. And it says that after they settle the dispute, the friends begin to set up for a night of partying. They really play up the fact the like Black Lives Matter and
Mm-hmm.
cops and that whole thing with this exchange. You do get where he's coming from though, because he's like, yeah, this they normally rent to families,
Right.
and here's this lone guy standing here who doesn't have anything saying he's supposed to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but Diedrich Bader is. I wondered what he was good. I saw his name in the opening credits, and I was like, okay, how's he?
How does he tie
How,
into the story?
yeah,
A
it's
very
it's
funny comedic actor too,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm real glad they had him play this character.
yeah. After drinks, drugs, and games ensue, the group questions who specifically invited Clifton. After the lights go out again, the friends go to find a power box only to come across the blackening with game pieces correlating to their personalities. The voice speaks to them, revealing he's keeping Morgan prisoner. Um, the voice forces the friends to play the game to save Morgan and begins by asking trivia questions about African American culture.
Hilarious, like phenomenal questions too, and
Yeah,
and I'm gonna say this: all the actors were perfect. Like their comedic beats were wonderful. And it was just very funny. They understood what they were doing, and I loved it. Oh, I love this movie.
yeah. Unfortunately, the friends fail to sufficiently answer a question about all the black actors that guest starred on Friends, and Morgan is attacked. That was a funny. It was a funny bit too because none of them wanted to admit that they'd watched the show. So it's like, oh well, I never watched that show, but I do know Aisha Tyler guest starred
They all
as a
started going through a list of it.
yeah, yeah. Um, they're ordered to sacrifice one of their own based on whom they deem to be the blackest. The most black person will be sacrificed. Each of them comes up with their own defense of why it cannot be them. And after Clifton admits he voted for Donald Trump in both elections, everyone chooses him out of spite.
I think that's probably the hardest I laughed during the movie. It was either that or the cookouts, the talk later. But
Well,
he said, I'm not black. I voted for Trump. And I said, oh no.
both
they,
times.
they kept calling him. He kept saying his bag ass and everything. And then he said, twice.
Well, it
God.
starts out when he's trying to show he's he's like I've never even seen Friday,
Right.
and they're like what?
Dude, this movie brought tears to my eyes on multiple different occasions just because it was so funny. I was expecting like a cheesy, scary movie kind of vibe for this, like a parodying
Mhm.
on things. I didn't expect its own story with a lot of this, and it was very good.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed this.
yeah. Clifton is sent outside because he's to be sacrificed, and he's shot in the chest with an arrow by the killer. When the friends are freed from the room, they attempt to go look for Morgan and find help. Despite knowing better, they agree with Allison's idea to split up. So this was the other tip to what was going on in the film because before this, they have an encounter with the killer,
Hmm.
and Shanika stabs him in the foot through his boot. And when it showed the security footage of him attacking Clifton, I'm looking at it and I'm going, he's not limping.
Hmm.
So there's got to be
Classic.
multiple.
There's multiple killers, just like Scream.
Yeah. Um, she goes off. Let's see. Allison goes off with King and Shanika, while Dwayne has to go with Lisa and Namdi. The latter three end up running into Ranger White, who's willing to help them until the killer shoots him in the neck with an arrow.
What about this? Is the cookout scene? They were like, oh, I'm here for you guys. They're like, everyone says that I'm not going with you. He said, no. If I was invited to the cookout, I wouldn't go. And they're like, wait, what? Why? And he said, oh, because I respected the blackness and everything. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll go with you. Just picked everything. I laughed so hard at that. He said, oh, out of respect.
They find one of the killer's masks in his vehicle, and so they assume he's okay, fair. Right. They assume he's one of them, but he's like, no, I found it out here. That's what made me come look for you guys. Right. Let me in the vehicle. And they watch as he gets shot through the neck, and it's like, oh.
They said, oh, he really wasn't the killer. I love these kinds of movies. I will watch these and love these to the day I die.
Allison, King, and Shanika encounter the killer, and the trio manage to overpower and kill him. They unmask him to find it's the clerk Shanika saw at the gas station. Lisa, Namdi, and Dwayne then encounter a second killer before Lisa bashes his brains in. They look through his pockets to see he's the first killer's twin brother, and they deduce someone hired them to be there. Yeah, they find a envelope full of money, right? And someone paid these guys $100 for each of the victims.
$100? Like, that's it?
That's all we're worth?
Oh, man.
The friends go into another room where they find Ranger White's and Clifton's bodies, only for the latter to spring awake and reveal himself as the mastermind. He blames the group for always doubting his level of blackness when they knew each other at college, with this doubt leading to an incident where he drank heavily and ended up killing a woman when driving on the road. Yeah, what they don't mention in this synopsis is that the big incident that led to him drinking heavily was he misplayed a hand of spades. He forgot he still had a club.
Yep.
And so it cost his team the game, and they were ragging on him about it. And, they're like, hey, that's just the way we play spades. Like you're gonna get ragged on when it comes to stuff like that. And he's like, but you said I wasn't black. And she's like, yeah, that's fair. That's something that I've probably, yeah.
And then they did it again at the beginning of the movie. So he was justified. He was justified in his mindset of why he was doing all this.
Right. After serving 4 years in prison for the DUI, he organized the entire...
That's it? For manslaughter. 4 years. It's just...
He organized the entire night as revenge, and he prepares to kill the others before dropping them down a well, where he dumps Sean's and Morgan's corpses. The friends fight back before kicking him down the well to his apparent death. Clifton's laugh can be heard as they leave. As the morning arrives, the friends are skeptical of calling... This was great. They're skeptical of calling the police for help, and on the advice of Dwayne, they call the fire department instead, only for them to be sprayed with a hose. And they all go flying off the screen.
Get shot from the fire department. They come with the water hose. Oh, man.
This was... It was a good movie, for sure. It had some funny moments. It's just hard for me because I couldn't score it higher than I did because it was so transparent of what was coming. I wanted a good little mystery tied with it, and it didn't quite get that. So, but it was well acted. It was well directed. Like there's all that was on point. I like the idea that they chose as the reason for the party Juneteenth, because that's something that it only recently became a federal holiday, right? But it's been going for decades as a time of remembrance, and so you hardly ever see it mentioned in any kind of movie. Mm-mm. So they made use of a day there that hasn't been saturated as the backdrop for a film and for stories. I gave it a 3 out of 5.
3.
I couldn't I was like, man, I just can't go higher than that. I initially went 3.5, and the more I thought about it, I was like, it's
That
kind of
very
a
down.
3.
I gave it a 4.5, and then
Oh,
Jamie gave it a 5 out of 5.
oh,
We you should have heard us cackling and laughing watching this movie. Um, I just really enjoyed it. It's now that you say it, like because they're celebrating Juneteenth, so it's not really a horror esque time for
right.
like these kind of murdery films. But I loved it, and I really do want a sequel, and I could see them doing one. Clifton, the actor that played it, was hilarious. Let me get to him. James Preston Rogers, hilarious. That's not who that is. They don't have. Oh,
Uh,
there is Jermaine Fowler, and then
yeah.
Dwayne Perkins, who played Dwayne, was so funny. He was some of the funniest acting in this, and so was Shanika, who's played by X Mayo. But the joke at the beginning too, with Jay Farrow and Yvonne Orji, obviously being like the more screen timed actors, they made a joke at the beginning of how the two highest billed black people in horror movies don't last long in the beginning of it. And sure enough, they both get killed off right at the beginning of the film after they looked at each other and kind of smirked at it. It was very funny. I thought it was like right on the nose. I love this movie. It's
Yeah.
one that if I see it for cheap enough, I'm probably going to add it to my collection to own it.
Yeah. So, about a sequel. In November of 2023, Variety reported MRC and Lionsgate were in talks with writers Dwayne Perkins, Tracy Oliver, and producer E. Brian Dobbins to return for a sequel. Perkins had previously expressed to the magazine he envisioned a franchise akin to a scary movie-esque series versus the Knives Out style, with a new cast for each mystery. So,
Please, I mean, and that he played Dwayne, so I didn't realize he was that involved with it.
yeah.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
maybe we get it.
I
Maybe
can't.
we get
I would love that. Just do different holidays and different murder mysteries, things like that. That's awesome. Oh, okay.
it.
I like it.
Yeah, I didn't know that I was going to be as far off from you all as I was, but okay.
Yeah, we love dumb comedy movies, and add in the Halloween vibes to it. Oh yeah,
Mhm.
we're all in, especially me because I wasn't scared, and neither was
Next.
I on this next one either.
No,
No, and I
none of it got you.
no, I can't wait to talk about it because
I wasn't. Yeah, I didn't find. I don't think any of it was scary, but there was certainly some creepy parts.
oh, they're creepy for sure.
Just the way that Mia Goth as Pearl is kind of looking in some of the scenes,
Mm-hmm.
like like especially when she climbs into bed with herself and
God,
like
that was it was like I was like it was definitely weird.
I don't know if I want to watch this.
Yeah. No, no me gusta, no more, please.
All right, you ready for X?
I'm ready for it.
All right, of course, directed by Ty West. First of a trilogy. There's a prequel that follows this called Pearl. There's a sequel that came earlier this year called Maxine. I think it was earlier this year.
24.
Yeah. This was done for a budget of $1 million, which
Really?
I'm looking at it. I'm thinking, okay, some of the actors must have taken less
Yeah.
to get it done, but the box office it didn't come out in a lot of theaters. 15.1 million.
Oof. I
That
mean,
made
that's still a good budget. Like a still return.
yeah, 15 times the budget. So
Mm.
um, we're gonna get into the two tonally different movies, by
Yeah,
the way.
absolutely. It could not be any opposite.
No. In 1979, police officers arrive on a lonely farm in rural Texas and find numerous dead bodies wrapped in bags. They then enter the farmhouse and find something shocking in the basement. We don't see what that is right away.
It was the body, right?
It
Coming up.
was, yeah,
Okay. 'Cause that was
yeah,
I was questioning that at the movie ended. I was the big crazy thing was them seeing the body down there, right? And everyone was like, "Yeah, that's what it was." I was like, "Okay," because I don't know why I couldn't. I was thinking there was more down there that was shocking, but I guess strung up naked guy,
Yeah,
blood everywhere is probably a good shocker.
yeah,
So
yeah. Um, and I do want to say that opening scene, and then especially the next bit, they did a good job of capturing kind of the vibe of a film that we're going to watch later on, Texas
mm-hmm.
Chainsaw. Just that rural, out, like way out, off by itself farmhouse where who knows what's going on,
Right.
right? 24 hours earlier, and that's the other cool thing about this, is it all happens within the span of 24 hours. Aspiring adult film star Maxine is on a trip to shoot a pornographic film with her producer boyfriend Wayne, fellow burlesque dancer Bobby Lynn, Marine Corps veteran Jackson, director RJ, and RJ's quiet girlfriend Lorraine. So Mia Goth is the star of the film as Maxine. The other big name that people are going to recognize here is Lorraine, played by Jenna Ortega. The group arrives at a farm owned by Howard and Pearl, an elderly couple who have a guest house that they rented for the shoot. Howard disapproves of the group, but Wayne excuses this due to not informing Howard of their intentions. Yeah, you kind of want to let people know.
Yeah, hey, there's not just two of us staying or just us staying or me staying. It's a whole group. And especially during that time of one of the other actors that's in this film, played by the wonderful Kid Cudi.
Yeah.
Was not expecting that either. Um, but he did great. I mean, the whole cast for this movie was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Um, yeah, you especially if you're going to shoot a porno on someone's property.
Yes. I mean, I understand not telling people about that part, but saying that you're going to have a group of people
Yeah.
maybe should have been told. So
I love the way the synopsis puts this. While Bobby Lynn and Jackson act out a scene,
well, they were getting nasty with it.
Pearl invites Maxine into the farmhouse and expresses an unusual fixation on her, as
Yeah.
Maxine looks exactly like
This
Pearl
is
when she was young.
after the gator was chasing her and Pearl was watching this whole scene act out. I was like, oh wow, that's a huge alligator. Surely that's going to come up again later.
Yeah, it did. All the deaths in this are foreshadowed.
Yes, and I loved it. I really enjoyed that they did it that way.
Yeah. Howard returns home and Pearl rushes Maxine out, urging her to keep it a secret. But as most movie characters do, she forgot to clean up the lemonade pitcher and glasses. So
Which
Howard becomes aware.
Out of.
Right, which would have made me nervous.
Yes.
Like Maxine just downs that glass of lemonade.
She downed it whole, one sip.
I'm like, that could have anything in it.
Right.
What do you? And I like the way that they intercut it, because the whole time that she's drinking lemonade, and she and Pearl are kind of talking and going through the house, they intercut it with scenes from the movie that's being shot in the bunkhouse, where they're essentially doing the same thing.
There were several parts that they did this with.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to really love the way A24 does their cinematography, because this and Hereditary, which I will never watch Hereditary again, or Midsummer or anything that comes after that. But the way that they film their movies, they hit you with that sense of dread and anything can happen, but they film it so well, and because you could tell this was kind of like a homage to Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
The way they filmed it, filming it in Texas, and the way they did things, I was like, oh, this is what they're trying to pull, and they killed it. I love the cinematography from this, and I want to watch more A24 movies, as well as Jamie and I were talking about this weekend. We want to watch both the prequel and the sequel to this, just because it's a very cool story.
Yeah. Maxine returns to the guest house and shoots a sex scene with Jackson in the barn, as Pearl secretly watches and imagines herself in Maxine's spot. This little flip between Maxine and Pearl, that was because I have the Blu-ray,
Oh,
so it's on the menu screen. Just that little transition, and I was like, "What? Okay." Uh, wasn't expecting that to be
right.
there. Later, Pearl attempts to seduce Howard, but he turns her down, citing heart problems. That night,
Foreshadowing.
Lorraine asked to participate in the shoot, upsetting RJ. Can I just say Sunday's now my favorite day? When
I mean, and her character was really well done too. The
yeah,
way that she was very much against it, watching it, understanding why they're doing it, transitioning to say, "Hey, I want to star in it,"
hmm
and then RJ, which was the director producer, pretty much was like, "I'm not about this," and very very cool way they wrote this.
yeah, she doesn't just flip, right? You
Mm-mm.
see the wheels turning
Yeah,
in her mind as
and they
she's
start
going
talking
through the
about it. I think it
experience.
was well, what was her name? Bobby Lynn. She was like, "I saw you watching us
Yeah,
and enjoying it," and she was like, "No, I was not," and
yeah.
sure
She's
she
kind of
was.
embarrassed that she was.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, you're working on the film. You're gonna sit that. You're not just gonna stare at the ceiling.
Right. She's holding a
Yeah.
boom mic. Has to make sure it's not in frame and get all the sounds and everything.
Uh, well, we'll say this though later on, and we're gonna get to that part. But she mentions to Wayne, she's like, because they can't find RJ.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, "You don't think he left me, did you? I, I don't want to. I don't want to lose him. I don't." It's like, well, then you should have listened when he had objections
Right
to.
when he was very much upset about this.
Of course, he should have done a better job of
Correct.
vocalizing that. He should have said, "Hey, let's talk," and gone outside and
Because that's definitely a one-on-one conversation, not a
right.
group conversation. And of course, Wayne's gonna be like, "Oh yeah, the more the merrier for this
Yeah,
movie," kind of thing. So,
Wayne doesn't mind sharing.
mm-mm.
Uh, when everyone's asleep, an angry RJ attempts to drive away and strand the group at the farm, but finds Pearl in the driveway. Creepy.
I would have never stopped. If this was me and this happened, I would not have stopped.
I would have backed up and
Yeah,
got
we just
there,
went around her and
but
be done with it.
yeah, I would. Yeah, that's not how they wrote it.
No,
So hey,
it's not the script.
after he rebuffs her advances, Pearl stabs him to death. And I'm sitting there, yeah, like that's okay. He has a right to say no.
Correct. Yep. Consent is key
You
here.
know, you can't just. Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, no, noticing RJ's missing, Lorraine and Wayne look for him. In the barn, Wayne steps on a large nail and is killed by Pearl with a pitchfork.
Awesome.
Yeah. When he pulls the nail out of his foot and blood just gushes out, I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah,
So
that's
we're going places. I mean, he's in
he's
like some extreme whitey tighties too. Like,
yeah,
just walk around this farm. The whole time I'm thinking, you're not worried about mosquitoes or bugs, and a lot of them barefoot throughout this movie too. And I'm like, I can't.
yeah,
I couldn't do it. I
yeah.
cannot do it.
But it's they did such a good job too, though, with the way this looked, and I even like that one little line. It's easy to miss where he still thinks he's looking for RJ,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he's like, I'm gonna get tetanus from this, and it's just that little bit of
Yep.
detail. Because yeah, that's what you would be thinking, like, oh crap, this rusty old nail
Mm-hmm.
just went through my foot. So, meanwhile, Howard invites Lorraine into their house, claiming Pearl has gone missing. He asks Lorraine to retrieve a flashlight from the basement. When she goes down, Howard locks the door and she discovers a naked male corpse hanging from the ceiling. The scream
Mm-hmm.
that she lets out,
She's so good, man.
fantastic. Um, and again, they're not shy here. They
Mm-hmm.
show the full male corpse,
Yep. Thanks for happening
sausage
here.
and all, pants down around his ankles. I'm like,
I don't know what happened there, but
was he? I'm sure we'll. I haven't seen Pearl,
right.
so I'm
It's
sure.
that was my question with it, and I won't know until I watch it because I don't want to look it up. I don't want to spoil anything for me. I wonder when Pearl ends. Like, does it
Right.
end right when this group gets that Howard gets the phone call about this group coming to stay, or does it, or when does it kind of
And
end, kind of thing? Because I'm
right,
sure that has to be a part of the story somehow, some way.
yeah. Howard goes to the guest house, and he asks Jackson to help him find Pearl. Okay, so Jackson has been asleep with Bobby Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to the refrigerator to get something to drink. Naked.
Butt ass naked.
Sees
Oh, his
Howard
milk and
coming.
drinks it straight from the carton too. I mean, we're a couple strikes here.
Well, and did you notice the picture on on the carton for the missing person was the guy in the basement?
No way. No, I didn't see
Yeah.
that. Oh, I gotta tell Jamie
So
that.
so uh he sees Howard coming down the path. You would like my first reaction would be, I'm standing here with no clothes on. I gotta go get something on. That guy's coming down here.
Nope. Just.
He just opens the door, and then they show a silhouette. Never mind. When they split up to scout the lake's perimeter, Jackson finds a car submerged in the water, which they'd mentioned Psycho earlier in the movie. This was kind of
Mhm.
a nod to Psycho. After failing to draw Jackson into the water with his flashlight, Howard confronts him and shoots him in the chest.
He just says forget it and shoots him.
He says once a Marine, always a Marine,
Right.
and he just puts his shotgun up against his chest and blows him away.
Oh, awesome.
Um, Meanwhile, Pearl sneaks into the guest house, undresses, and climbs into bed with Maxine, caressing her body, who awakens in horror to find Pearl lying next to her, waking Bobby Lynn. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this was. She kind of. She pulls down the covers and, like, uncovers her first, and then she kind of.
Maxine does not move at all during this scene.
No, well,
Like,
she's tired.
well,
She,
I'm a very light sleeper though. I can hear
she's
a pin
been.
drop across the other end of the house and wake up.
Well, she's been working hard that day.
Valid point. I had some good lemonade too, and there was no
Yeah,
telling what was in it.
right. Um, yeah, this was just, and again, you know, like Bobby Lynn jumps up and she's, what's going on? Which I thought that was done well because she did look disoriented.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is going on? Where is everybody? And you know all this, but it's like I don't understand. She follows Pearl down to the lake. Bad move,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if I were her, as soon as I heard Maxine say what she said about what was going on with Pearl, I'd be like, all right, look, let's just pack up.
All right, let's just get out of here, guys. We can find somewhere else to film.
we're gonna leave. Back in the house, Lorraine breaks through the basement door with a hatchet, but Howard breaks her fingers. And as
Oh,
soon as soon as she starts reaching through the door, I'm like, your arm's getting cut off or something.
that's what I thought
Something's
too. I was like, that axe, that the hatchet's been kind of foreshadowed throughout the whole thing, is about to be used here. But
yeah,
it was another hammer that she grabbed, and what I thought was kind of dumb, but a teenager would do this in this situation, was she hit the door side of the door that the handle's not on. So she had to
right.
reach in and around. And I was like, rookie move. You
Yeah,
always go close to the door handle.
right.
But, you know.
Or bust it out in both
Right.
so that you can just jump out or crawl through
Yeah. So, you
or
know, she's
whatever.
not thinking. She's seen
They
a naked murder dude there, so
they didn't write it that way.
no.
Bobby Lynn finds Pearl standing on the lake's edge and tries to help her. Pearl insults Bobby Lynn and pushes her into the water, where an alligator kills her.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't just kill her.
Straight up. Just,
It,
mm.
yeah, he came up and just got her head between his
Yeah.
jaws, and
She's
you immediately
still
see,
screaming as it's dragging her down and everything.
yeah, you see this gush of blood into the
Mm.
water, and she's just. The screams may have gone on too long because I
Mm.
don't think that would be. I think she would be in shock.
Yeah.
But
It doesn't make good for good movies though.
yeah, that was just. Talk about ways to go. I think I'd rather have Jackson's end than Bobby Lynn's.
Yeah.
because he never knew what hit him.
Nope,
Like
it needs to be done.
he had a split second of he's pointing the gun, boom,
Yep.
done. Pearl and Howard reunite and enter the guest house where they have sex. Heart condition. That was, and it was such a. It worked out because Maxine's under the bed.
Mm-hmm.
So you get the feeling at first that she's just going to kind of stay there. And then as she hears what's going on, she's like, no, I got to go.
I got to go. That's my future self up there. I'm not doing it.
But had she stayed there, she still would have been safe.
Yeah.
Because they thought she'd just gotten away. Maxine escapes to the van and arms herself with a pistol that we know is not loaded.
Oh, because they foreshadowed at the beginning of it all.
Yeah. She frees Lorraine, who runs out the front door only to be shot by Howard, right? So she frees Lorraine, and Lorraine immediately is insulting her.
Yeah,
like, this is all your fault. It's like, she just let you out of the basement.
Right. You don't start throwing accusations like that around.
No, wait till you both get in the van and get down the road. But she runs out the front door and immediately, boom, shotgun blast.
That was my biggest jump in the whole film, was this part right there.
Yeah.
Because that was the only one thing I did not see coming.
I remembered the way the front porch looked at the beginning, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, something's got to happen out there. And so when she took off, I was waiting for it. But I also like when they drag her in,
mm-hmm.
you see her face and you see like chunks of it missing, and you see jaw and look good. As the couple moves her body inside the house, Lorraine's corpse twitches, startling Howard and causing him to have a fatal heart attack.
Even his death was foretold.
Yeah. And I love the fact that they have Pearl here look at Lorraine, or look at Maxine as she comes out, as Howard's having this heart attack. She's like, help me, he's having a heart attack. You think I'm going to help you now?
No, absolutely not.
You got to be out of your mind. So she's like, I can't remember what she says, but she makes a comment about it. Maxine retrieves the keys to Howard's truck and attempts to shoot Pearl, but the pistol's not loaded. Pearl shoots at Maxine with Howard's gun, but the recoil knocks her back onto the porch. No, it doesn't just knock her back onto the porch. It throws
launches her
out the door, down the steps, and she breaks her hip. As Maxine gets into Howard's truck, Pearl berates and insults her. She reverses the truck, crushing Pearl's head underneath the tires before driving away. It's revealed Maxine is the daughter of a televangelist, frequently heard throughout the film. The police discover RJ's camera, with the sheriff speculating it contains footage of one effed up horror picture.
It was awesome. And a lot of things happened throughout this movie. Like the evangelist, the dad, was playing throughout the whole movie. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, it's just kind of like setting things up, like we're in the deep south kind of thing. But then it reveals that at the end. I said, that is awesome. It makes so much sense of how this ties into it all. It's one of those A24 things that if you have to pay attention to a lot of these things for it to happen. Like the man in the basement on the milk carton, didn't even notice. And I'm sitting here on all this trivia on IMDb trivia. The day after X South by Southwest premiere, writer-director Ty West revealed that during a mandatory 2-week COVID-19 quarantine in New Zealand, before production could begin on this film, he wrote a prequel, Pearl. A24 saw the script and greenlit the movie even before production on X had wrapped. He asked star Maya Goth if she wished to remain in New Zealand and film Pearl, and she readily accepted, which both came out in the same year, which is awesome. But
yeah.
A lot of cool trivias here, which you said the one about the milk carton. And then several of the characters' deaths are foreshadowed in various ways. When Bobby Lynn exits a strip club at the beginning of the film, a large mural depicting a blonde woman with an alligator pulling on her bikini is seen on the building, foreshadowing her death by an alligator attack. Wayne, in conversation with RJ, tells him that people's eyes are going to pop out of their skulls when they see the adult film that they have made. Wayne later dies by having the prongs of a pitchfork stabbed through his eye sockets, and one does pop out. At another point, Wayne advises RJ never let a good woman out of your sight, never mention her weight. Howard loses track of Pearl, which allows her to start her murder spree. While dragging Lorraine, he comments that she's heavier than she looks, just before her death rattle startles him into a fatal heart attack. Jackson mentioned several times that he was threatened by farmers with guns while serving in Vietnam. He is ultimately killed by Howard with a shotgun. The van runs over the entrails of a dead cow early on. RJ's blood is splattered over the grill and headlights while Pearl stabs him and Pearl beats her in when Maxine backs over a truck over her body, crushing her head. In addition, when Howard and Jackson go looking for Pearl, Howard mentions that his worry that Pearl will fall and break her hip. When Pearl fires a shotgun at Maxine, the recoil causes her to fly through the air and break her hip.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. I mean, stuff like that is awesome. And then when filming the scene of her iconic scream in the basement, Jenna Ortega was hung over after going on a bar crawl the night before with Kid Cudi. It's stuff like that is just so funny and very cool. But yeah, this film, I'm going to start off. I gave this a 5 out of 5, and so did Jamie. We both loved it so much. We talked about this movie all weekend long.
Yeah.
And wanting to watch the prequel and the sequel. And it's because I want to know what happens. I know because Jamie read what's the second one's called, Maxine, with like 3 X's, I think.
Yeah.
And she said it's like a year later or a couple years later from this. I said, well, imagine what happened was she was still an actress, gets recognized by the police. I haven't seen anything, so I'm just kind of like guessing my point here. Is that then they find out who she is and then they track her down and maybe she starts killing the cops or something. I don't know. But the prequel I'm really excited about too because I want to see why Pearl is the way she is.
Yeah, it's something that I'm probably not gonna wait, say, another year.
Yeah.
To put this on the list. I'll just watch it and we can talk about it.
Yeah, we might do the same. We'll pick a slower weekend and might just pop the first one in and then the last one.
I mean, maybe the weekend after we finish the horror movies, maybe we'll just extend it.
Yeah.
Wrap up the trilogy.
Guess just pull my arm, fine, sure.
It's a phenomenal movie, though. I gave it a 4.5.
Awesome.
I came in at couldn't quite go 5, but it's entertaining.
I did 4.5 on this one. Sorry.
It's entertaining. It's got great kills. I like that they foreshadow it, but they don't make it blatantly obvious.
Mm.
You realize it after some of these folks have died. So yeah, the makeup.
Oh,
for both Howard and Pearl.
Yes.
Phenomenal.
Pearl or Maya said it took 6 hours to put her in her full makeup, including 30 different prosthetic pieces to become her character Pearl.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine sitting for 6 hours putting makeup and prosthetics on?
Yeah.
I mean, if I was getting paid for it,
Well, she got paid for it.
Yeah, that's true. So, I mean, this is a very good movie, and I really we're starting this Halloween Horror 2024 out strong, and I'm just excited for the rest of it. There's a lot of good films, and I'm really glad we didn't watch The Fog, because on the way home from Nashville last night, very foggy. And I said that would have been very apt, and I'm glad we didn't do it.
So, that would have been perfect.
It was like very foggy, and that's all I could think about was this movie we're going to watch in a couple weeks. So
good.
Yeah, What's our next week, Chris?
Next week we have Texas Chainsaw, and we have Beetlejuice.
I'm really excited.
Have you seen that before?
Oh yeah, it's been maybe 10 years though. It's been a hot minute since I've seen it, and we're debating on Stella watching it because that's what she loves. She calls it what's she called? The funny clown guy, because she's seen trailers for Beetlejuice, and she really wants to watch it. And we're kind of like, she'll be 6 and next month, and we're just like, should we? I don't think it's that scary. There are some moments, But that's what she wants to be for Halloween is Lydia. And
Oh yeah.
for some reason, I'm going to be Beetlejuice. So for Halloween night.
I saw a meme on Facebook that said it had a picture of Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice and one of Pete Davidson. It said Pete Davidson's what Beetlejuice looked like before he died.
That's so good. I'm going to have to tell Jamie that one too.
So, I don't know. I mean, the one I'd probably be concerned about, the scene, is probably the one with where the rail becomes a snake.
Yeah.
With his head on it. Like, that might be really freaky.
I was thinking of that, and when they are trying to scare the family, because like she elongates her nose and mouth and everything, and puts the fingers on the eyes.
Yeah,
the eyes and the fingers. That's the one that I'm thinking of, and then that
it's
one.
it's kind of cartoony though.
Yeah.
At that point,
So
that might be okay
with her that night. So that's all that matters.
She might be braver than you think though.
That's true. She's Jamie's kid, not mine. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching and listening to this first episode of the Halloween Horror Fest 2024 here on the Nerdwide podcast. Really hope you enjoyed it and you watched these movies with us. Don't forget to share on all your favorite social media platforms and forget to rate and review this podcast on whatever podcasting service you do use. We are literally everywhere on every podcast. If there's any issues on any of those, just let us know down in the comments or on social media where you can find us anywhere, including Threads.
Oh, let me jump in real quick, please, and that you might want this too, right? If you direct message me on social media, please let me know that you're coming from the show.
Yeah.
Don't just because if it's something I don't understand why this person's contacting me, I'm not gonna respond.
Hey, just listen to this episode of the Nerdwide podcast. This is what I think. Blah 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 blah. Don't just
right.
Hey, Chris.
So, right. Don't just. Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Delete.
See, that's why I start messing with people. But anyways, this has been this week's episode of the Nerdwide podcast, and we cannot wait to talk to you next week.
Later, guys.